A storm is coming. Not just any storm. A Category 5 hurricane. Roads are flooded, towns abandoned, the whole state on high alert. But in the middle of it all, one girl drives straight into the danger. Haley ignores every warning, every evacuation order, to find the one person who might still be alive, her father. But what she'll find isn't just a rescue mission. Beneath the house, something ancient is waiting. And as the water rises, so does the nightmare. This is... The movie opens with Haley in a locker room after swim practice, when her phone buzzes. On the other end is her sister, worried. Their father hasn't been answering calls, and with a massive hurricane approaching, she's scared something may have happened. Haley brushes it off at first, but deep down she shares the concern. On the TV, urgent news reports warn of the storm's destructive path and an evacuation order is in effect. Despite her sister's protests, Haley insists she'll check on their father herself. Minutes later, she's behind the wheel, speeding into the heart of the storm. The once busy roads are eerily empty, every passing mile marked by stronger winds and driving rain. A crackling voice on the car radio repeats the same warning over and over. All residents must evacuate immediately, but Haley doesn't slow down. Determined, she pushes forward, straight into the hurricane. As Haley drives deeper into the storm, she reaches a roadblock manned by emergency service personnel. They warn her it's far too dangerous and order her to turn back. She pleads with them, desperate to keep going, but they refuse. Reluctantly, she nods, pretending to comply. But the moment she turns her car around, she swerves sharply through a gap in the roadside brush, breaking past the barricade. Now she's fully in the heart of the hurricane. The winds howl violently, rain lashes against her windshield, and entire houses stand half submerged under rising floodwaters. Roads are deserted. The town looks swallowed alive by the storm. Yet she presses forward, determined to find her father no matter the risk. Haley finally arrives at her dad's apartment. Inside, she finds it empty, except for his loyal dog, Sugar, waiting anxiously. On the bed are family photos laid out, as if her father had been looking through memories before the storm hit. Haley calls her sister to give an update, then leaves with the dog, determined to search the one place he might have gone, their old family home. Driving deeper into the hurricane, the winds howl louder, rain floods the streets, but when she pulls up, relief washes over her. Her father's truck is parked right out front. Inside the house, however, there's no sign of him. Then Sugar begins barking, pawing at the floorboards. Following the sound, Haley discovers the barking is directed at the crawl space beneath the house. Left with no choice, she grabs a flashlight and descends into the dark, narrow space. The air is damp, the ground muddy, and the place crawling with rats. Little does she know, the rats will soon be the least of her problems. Crawling deeper, her flashlight lands on a body. It's her father, unconscious, bloodied, with a massive wound tearing across his shoulder. Panic floods her as she tries to drag him out, but he's far too heavy. Desperate, she grabs a piece of thick black tarp lying nearby, wrestles his body onto it, and strains with everything she has to drag him through the mud. Inch by inch he moves, the storm raging above, the crawl space groaning around her. For a fleeting moment, it feels like she might actually make it. But just then, Haley frantically drags her father's body through the mud as the massive gator inches closer. In the chaos, her phone slips from her hand, but she manages to scramble behind a metal pipe, trembling as the predator finally retreats into the shadows. Moments later, her dad stirs awake, only to reveal something worse. His leg is dislocated. Haley knows they need help fast. She spots her phone on the muddy ground and inches toward it, never taking her eyes off the gator. Finally, she snatches it up and dials 911. But before she can finish the call, something creeps up behind her. It clamps onto her foot, thrashing wildly and dragging her through the water. She screams, struggling with all her strength, until at last she breaks free. But now she's trapped between two alligators. Desperate, she shoves one of them into a cage, pinning its head between the bars. The other creeps forward, jaws wide. Her father bangs a metal rod to draw its attention, but it doesn't work. Haley's eyes lock onto a nearby tool, and with one final burst of courage, she stabs the gator straight in the eye. It recoils in pain, giving her just enough time to crawl back behind the pipes, bleeding and gasping for air. For now, they're safe. But a new terror closes in. The water level is rising fast. Soon the entire crawl space will be submerged. With no time to waste, her father braces himself, straps a belt around his leg, and pops the bone back into place with a sickening crack. Haley forces herself back into the crawl space, searching for help. Through the cracks in the wall, she spots movement in the distance. Figures waiting near a flooded gas station. She yells for help, her voice drowned out by the roaring storm. The trio, oblivious to her cries, are busy hauling an ATM machine onto their small boat. They're about to leave, but one of them lingers behind, scavenging for more items inside the flooded store. Desperate, Haley grabs her flashlight and waves it frantically through the cracks. Finally, one of them notices the faint beam and starts wading closer. But before he can take another step, chaos erupts. A massive alligator bursts from the dark, its jaws clamping down on the girl mid-scream. The floodwater turns crimson as her body disappears beneath the waves. The guy freezes, terror flooding his face. "Get out of the water!" he yells toward his brother still inside the store. But before the warning sinks in, his brother stumbles backward in panic. The storm swallows his final cry as he's pulled beneath the surface, leaving only the echo of splashing water and crimson ripples drifting through the flood. Haley stares in shock, her heart sinking as she realizes the truth. No one is coming. Back inside, the crawl space groans under the rising flood. Water pours through the cracks. The current grows stronger, turning their shelter into a death trap. She searches desperately for a way out and finds a small vent where the pipes connect. With trembling hands, she pushes against it, hoping it might lead to safety. But it won't budge. Something heavy rests on top, trapping them in. Then faintly, the sound of engines. A rescue boat approaches through the storm. Haley and her father start pounding the pipes, shouting desperately to guide the rescuers closer. One of them goes in to check. The dog's barking and the echoing bangs lead him straight to the crawl space entrance. Outside, the storm rages. The boat is tangled in vines. As his partner gets out to free it, the water ripples, a blur of scales and teeth. He barely screams before being lunged upwards, torn apart by the swarm. Inside, the rescuer radios for backup, unaware of the nightmare that just unfolded. The next second, Haley screams and reaches out, but he's yanked under before she can grab him. Just then, another gator spots her. She scrambles backward, barely making it as it snaps inches from her foot. Gasping for breath, she presses herself beside her father, both trembling, both silent, as the water creeps higher and higher. After a few words of encouragement from her father, Haley forces herself to focus. They can't give up now. Together, they forge a desperate plan. Her dad will distract the alligators while she makes a break for the staircase. The plan works. At first, one of the gators charges toward her father's noise, but the other lingers near the stairs, blocking Haley's only exit. With no other option, she decides to take a bold risk. Escape through the drain pipe, the same place the alligators must have entered from. As she crawls through the narrow tunnel, her flashlight beam flickers across something. A cluster of white, leathery eggs. Alligator eggs, which can only mean one thing: the mother is close. Before she can move, a massive gator forces its way through the drain entrance, water churning violently around it. Haley's heart pounds as she scrambles backward, spotting the body of a police officer floating nearby and a gun strapped to his vest. In a split-second decision, she grabs the weapon just as the beast lunges. Its jaws clamp down on her arm, crushing pain shooting through her body. Gritting her teeth, she steadies the gun inside its mouth and pulls the trigger again and again until the creature finally goes limp. Back in the crawl space, her father is now neck-deep in rising water, his strength fading fast. Haley swims through the drain, holding her breath as her head pokes out the other end. But the danger isn't over. Several gators circle above, their tails slicing through the floodwater. She dives beneath them, kicking with everything she has. One of the gators spots her and gives chase. Haley pushes harder, every muscle screaming, until she finally bursts out of the water. Trembling and soaked, she runs straight for the house, unaware that inside, her father is completely submerged, losing breath by the second. Haley smashes through the wooden boards and drags her father's limp body out of the crawl space. He isn't breathing. Panic floods her face as she presses down on his chest, shouting his name between desperate breaths. For a moment, nothing. Then with one final strike to his chest, he gasps for air. Relief washes over her. They need to leave, fast. But their car is half submerged in the rising flood. Scanning the distance, they spot the rescue boat drifting by the gas station. It's their only chance. But between them and the boat, the water teems with alligators. Her father remembers the rain. As long as the surface ripples, the gators can't track their movement. So they move slowly, carefully, each step silent beneath the pounding storm. Halfway across, the rain fades, the sky clearing, and their cover vanishes. The water grows still, too still. A massive alligator glides between them. Neither dares to move. Haley's father warns that the flood barrier might give way at any moment. With no time to waste, Haley takes a deep breath and swims for the boat. Gators swarm behind her, their jaws slicing through the water. She reaches the boat just as one snaps inches from her leg. Gasping, she fires up the motor and speeds back toward her father. Then, a deafening roar. The flood barrier collapses. A wall of water surges through the neighborhood, swallowing everything in its path. The current slams into them, tossing the boat, debris, and alligators alike into the ruins of a nearby house. Haley is thrown under, spinning helplessly. When the surge finally settles, Haley and her father find themselves separated, each trapped in a different room, half submerged in rising water. "Dad!" she shouts. "Haley!" His voice echoes faintly through the wreckage. Relief floods them both. They're alive, but they can't see each other. Haley scans the debris-filled room. "Meet me upstairs," she yells over the roaring wind. Her father agrees, struggling to wade through the flooded hallway. As she makes her way toward the stairs, something catches her attention. A faint crackling sound beneath the water. Through the static, she recognizes a voice. It's coming from the rescue team's radio. The device is still transmitting. Using a plank of wood and a stick, she grabs the radio. She manages to call for help, but the signal cuts out before she can finish her message. Across the other room, her dad spots a box of flares floating nearby. He grabs one, lights it, and waves it to guide their dog closer through the swirling water. But before the dog can reach him, "Hey!" He screams, fighting back with everything he has, but the beast thrashes violently, tearing his arm clean off. Haley rushes to his side, her face frozen in horror. Then the gator turns and surges toward her. She bolts, swimming through debris and shattered walls until she spots a small bathroom ahead. She dives inside and slams the door shut behind her, but the gator rams it again and again, the metal hinges groaning under its weight. Thinking fast, Haley grips the handle, takes a deep breath, and pulls the door open. The gator lunges inside. She scrambles up, climbing over the stall wall and locking the door from the outside, trapping the monster within. Without wasting a second, she rushes to her father and helps him up as the rising floodwater swallows the lower floor. The house is nearly underwater now. They're almost at the staircase leading to the attic when a flash of light catches Haley's eye. A rescue helicopter hovering in the distance. Hope floods her face for the first time in hours. She grabs a flare, lights it, and waves it desperately through the window to draw attention. But before the pilot can spot them, the glass shatters. A massive alligator bursts through, jaws snapping with terrifying force. The impact slams the door shut, trapping her inside. The gator lunges again, clamping onto Haley's arm and dragging her beneath the water. She thrashes violently as it spins her over and over, her world dissolving before her eyes. Through the blur, she spots the flare sinking to the floor. She reaches for it, misses, then reaches again. On the final spin, her fingers close around it. With a desperate scream, she presses it against the gator's skin. The water flashes red as it lets go, thrashing away in agony. Gasping for air, Haley breaks the surface, shoving through the shattered roof just as the gator lunges again, its jaws locking onto a plank beside her. The wood splinters under the pressure, but before it can strike again, debris and the current drag it away. Her injured arm gives out, but her father grabs her just in time, pulling her onto the roof. They collapse side by side, rain pouring over their faces as they lie there, gasping for breath. Then faintly, her dad spots movement through the storm clouds, a helicopter breaking through the rain. Haley lights the final flare, raising it high. The crimson glow cuts through the darkness as the helicopter's searchlight locks onto them. At long last, the nightmare is over.